What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. Curious is what you think about the Jets class here. First round, we got offensive tackle Armand Membou. Second round, tight end Mason Taylor. Third round is R.E.A. Thomas. Fourth round, Arian Smith, the wide receiver out of Georgia. In the fourth round as well, safety Malachi Moore. Fifth round, Francis Mauga, the linebacker from Miami, and then another Miami player, Tyler Barron, the edge rusher there in the fifth round. Our staff gave the Jets a B+ here. Now, as our resident Jets expert, you a little bit harsher on this because it is your team, or are you giving it a B+ as well?
No, I mean, a B or a B+ is fine. I think the one pick that I would take umbrage with is probably Arian Smith in the fourth round when you had guys like Alec Iamaner and Jalen Royals and Torrey Horton still on the board. I wasn't sure Smith would be drafted. I think his receiving grade this year was around a 57. He had a lot of drops at Georgia. I know he's got the 4.3 speed, but it was a very inconsistent tape and only 1 year as a starter. But this draft is really about these first three picks, and I think the theme here is the long-term approach and the youth that they got, right? All three of their first three picks, Membou, Taylor, and Thomas, they're all going to be 21 years old this season. I think the Jets are very much taking a long-term approach under this new regime. I don't think they're going to win a whole lot of games in 2025, and they didn't make a whole lot of, I think, win-right-now picks to win a ton of games in 2025. The idea behind an offensive lineman, a new tight end, and even a corner who's probably not going to start over Brandon Stevens with the contract that he just got. He's really going to be their third outside corner. They're just trying to develop guys, right? They're going to put Taylor in the fire, right away as probably the starting tight end. Membou's going to start at right tackle, and they're just going to get these guys reps, okay? This is not going to be so much this year about winning games. You've got kind of a Band-Aid quarterback unless he really emerges, to another level in Justin Fields than we've seen before. They're trying to – Aaron Glenn, just like – this reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell's first year in Detroit. The wins and losses really don't matter. They're trying to reset the culture. They're trying to set the tone that maybe they get more aggressive in next year's draft, right? Maybe a new franchise quarterback, maybe some other things that could help them in the more immediate future. But I think this really is a draft for the future. You talk about a young offensive line. You talk about maybe eventually pairing Thomas with Sauce Gardner as the starting corners in the secondary when he gets a little bit older. Hopefully Mason Taylor can develop into a top 10 to 12 tight end, but he needs a year or two to continue to develop his skills. So I do like some of the depth they got here, especially Malachi Moore in the fifth round, but this is about a youth movement. This is about resetting the culture in New York. I don't think this is not a draft aimed at winning a bunch of games in 2025. That's not what it's going to be about. They're trying to find the keepers for this roster.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's really only two players who I think are surefire starters, and that's Armand Membou and Mason Taylor. And even Mason Taylor, in some situations in the NFL, he might not be a starter his very first year, but the Jets, I think, need him to be, so they will lean on him quite a bit in the passing game. R.E.A. Thomas, with Sauce Gardner already there, with the signing of Brandon Stevens, it feels as though he's not going to be thrust in that starting lineup. I do think that he is going to be an Aaron Glenn disciple, though. I think that the way he wants to play the cornerback position is the way that Aaron Glenn played the cornerback position, just wants to be aggressive, wants to get hands on guys, wants to play him in press coverage, and I think that the Jets want to lean into that a little bit more, and so they're trying to get the horses to be able to run that race, if you will. The rest of the guys, Arian Smith was extremely puzzling to me. I agree. It was a little reminiscent of sort of the way that I talked about the San Francisco 49ers draft class, where I look at this and I go, okay, even if you liked this player, you could have had them 2 rounds later than where you ended up picking him. I fully believe that the Jets could have picked Arian Smith in the 6th round. And so that was a little bit puzzling to me. Part of being good at the draft is understanding the intel of the rest of the teams. And I will be fair to a brand new regime who's taking over as the primary decision makers for the first time in New York. And a little bit of a learning curve maybe in that regard. And so I'll give them a little bit of grace there, but I think that was quite an overdraft for me. I think Malachi Moore is a good player. I think this is more of a culture pick than maybe necessarily a guy who's going to make a big impact. And then the 2 guys from Miami, I think, are just sort of depth players there. So To me, you got to hope that the players who are drafted, I would say like third round and beyond, those are the big culture changing guys for you. You want the guys at the very top. And I'll throw Zaire Thomas's name in there as one that you want to be productive and a big part of what you're going to do moving forward. But you're hoping that these selections that you made, especially on day 3, they're really going to help the health, the culture, the vision, the character of this team moving forward. And maybe that will be worth it in the end, regardless of maybe where these guys got drafted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at those first 2 picks especially very, very hard throughout this season, right? When you talk about Membu, who's going to start at right tackle, and Membu and Fashanu could be one of the better tackle pairs in the league pretty soon, and they're both incredibly young. And then Mason Taylor in a tight end room that's really bare, especially for receiving threats. And with Justin Fields, we know he likes to throw to tight ends. He could have a big rookie year if everything develops right, but he's going to be put through the fire early.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now.